What's up guys, Phoenix here, and in today's video I'm here to give a regional report on the Buford, Georgia regional that I attended on February 15th. The deck profile for what I played, which was Nekroz. If you haven't already seen it, a link to it is in the description. I said in that video that I could do a regional report if you guys wanted me to, and a lot of people liked the idea of that, and I've done it in the past, so might as well do it again. Don't pay any mind to all this shit that's behind me. I just build a lot of models, especially when I get stressed. That's my stress relief, is to build or modify existing models. And I know where everything is in this room, essentially. I know where all the parts and stuff that I need to look for is, and a lot of these things are really big. I mean, you see that station building sitting in the couch, and it's taking up the almost like a space of an entire cushion in terms of how long it is, but that's besides the point. Yeah, it's just really messy in here, and I need to do something about it, but there's no need for me to at this given point in time. But anyway, the regional was 198 players, if I recall correctly. It was just under 200. It was just under the threshold for who would get top 32, so only top 24 got invites instead, which was actually very important to the players like me who needed their invite, because it meant if you were going to go X2, you basically had to get your second loss in either the second to last or the last round. If you went X2 at any point before that, you were pretty much not going to have a very good chance of pushing your way back up into 24th and higher place because of how the tiebreaker system functions. So luckily for me, my only two losses were round 3 and round 8. I think I could have placed higher than 15th had my round 3 tiebreaker not gone X2 drop immediately after I lost to him. But I mean, that happens. I ended up playing Spiritual Beasts round 1 at table 37. I kept track of all the tables that I was sitting at. Table 37 during round 1 was the lowest table that I was ever sitting at. I went above that table and never went back down below it, even after my loss in round 3. But I played against Ritual Beasts, and I absolutely love that deck, and it was kind of unfortunate that he played me because, 1, he didn't want to play Nekroz that early on, and 2, even if he was playing against Nekroz, he could probably squeeze a win, the win out, if his opponent wasn't as experienced with what the Ritual Beast cards do as much as I am. I absolutely love that deck. If I couldn't borrow Nekroz for this event, my choices were either BA or Ritual Beast because I have both decks finished. And I was heavily considering playing Ritual Beasts because that deck is just insane with some of the combos you can do. And all of their the cards that you can search are just insanely powerful. I read Steeds, and it's just this card is insane, and it doesn't target. This card is Artifact Moral Tech times 3 or 4. And you can search this card. You don't have to worry about it being in your deck and you drawing it because it's a dumbass Moral Tech. This is a trap card that you search, and you search it by your deck's normal engine, and then you read Ambush, and you're like, there's this trap that's chainable. It's already a +1 if I don't chain it in anything, but if my opponent spaces it or tries to do anything to it, I can just chain it for a +2, and it just puts more names on the board during my opponent's turn or mine if I'm just trying to extend that hard. It's just all the support cards are really good for Ritual Beasts. I planned on doing videos on them at some point, because I actually just really love the deck, and as I said, I haven't finished because I basically just had to take my E-Tellies and my extra deck from Gusto's and put it into that. But I ended up 2-0ing him because game 1, I Djinn locked him. I won the die roll and just went first and Djinn locked him. He had an out to the Djinn lock in the form of Raigeki. I had searched Trishula and Valkyris instead of Gungnir, because I just didn't know what he was playing, and he Raigeki'd my board, and then he started doing Ritual Beast plays with Gamahawk and E-Telly to start his combo off. But I was just able to take control of the game from there through some Trish plays and what have you. I was able to force his Steeds in inopportune times for him. And then game 2, I sided all 3 Decree, and those were the only things I sided in. And he opens with set 5 pass, and I look at my opening hand. I didn't even pick my opening hand up off the table because I looked, saw there was no Maxine, and sat back down. I didn't really pay attention to what was in it. I look at my opening hand and then draw for turn, and my opening hand is all 3 of the decrees that I sided in. A Brio, a Unicorn, and a Manju. So I just set 3 decree and pass turn. I'm like, I'm just going to start playing when this sticks. So he draws a card and passes, and I draw for turn again, and it's just something irrelevant. It's just another combo card. I flip 1 decree, and I go to summon Manju, and he goes to activate Fiendish Chain, and then chain Mystical Space Typhoon on my decree. I chain the 2nd decree, to which he chains another MST, to which I chain my 3rd decree. And then he couldn't win from that point on because the other 2 cards in his back row were dead. The Fiendish Chain couldn't stop the Manju. Even if the Fiendish Chain had resolved on the Manju, I probably still could have just won that turn. Just through Brio, Trish, and like some sort of decisive armor play to pop his back rows. So I don't think I don't believe that the 3rd decree was necessary. In any way, shape, or form in winning that game. It was just hilarious. So going to play round 2 at table 7, I play against Frank Nicola. Some of you may know him through like Zodiac. He's playing Nekroz. I played the Nekroz mirror with him, and I 2-0'd him, and he made it very clear very early on in game 1 that he was not aware of how to play the mirror match, and that he was only he was experienced with the deck to play against everything but the mirror. He hadn't been playing it for a very long time or testing it. So game 2, he started just mimicking the plays that I was making, but he made a critical mistake and left himself open to Trish, and I was able to win the following turn by just getting too far ahead for him to come back from. So then I go into round 3, and I went to table 16 and played another Nekroz mirror against my friend Steven Zambrano. And this is the round that I lost. I got 2-0'd by Steven. He didn't play the best, but I just had it was an unplayable, I feel like I didn't even play the match. He went first at game 1, and he opened the Jinlock, and he backed it up with a Trish in his hand. So I'm trying to get to Raigeki or any of my 2 Dark Holes. I don't have either of those, but I have the tools in my hand to protect myself from getting Trished, and also search for Dance Princess and Decisive Armor, because I have Brio Unicorn in hand. So I discard the Brio to add Decisive Armor, and then discard the Unicorn to add the Brio back, and pass turn, because I already have a Valk in hand. And so he doesn't put enough damage out to kill me, so I don't waste the Valk. And then I draw for turn, and I discard the Brio again for Dance Princess, and try to summon it, and run over the Colossalus with Decisive Armor, backing it up by, boosting it by 1,000. He discards Gungnir out of his hand, which I didn't know he searched, on my attack declaration. And so, during my turn, he doesn't Trish me for some reason. I remember why. Because, he never searched Shrit or Colossalus, during the 3 turns that he played the game. And he had an Exomir and he had a Trish in hand, and I knew those were there. But he had 2 Brios in grave, so he couldn't use Exomir to summon the Trish. So he tried to attack over my Dance Princess, and I Valked. So then next turn, I try to attack again, and he has a Valk. And then he finally Trishes me, and I spend the rest of the game going through all my Unicorns and all my Valks trying to get to an out for the Jinlock, and the game takes a long time. He really should have killed me sooner, but he just didn't for some reason. And it gets to the point where there's only 13 cards left in my deck, and 5 of them are outs of the Jinlock. I could either top deck a Unicorn to get my Dance Princess, or my Raigeki, my 2 Dark Holes, or my Book of Moon, because the Trishula is on the board, and the Gungnir is in the grave. And I just didn't draw any of them. My hand is loaded full of combo cards that I could use to Trish him, do all these things to him, but I just didn't get there. In game 2, I go second, because we agreed to side out the Jin. And my hand was just absolutely awful, and I get OTK'd on his second turn, because all I can do is literally summon Manju and pass. I can't even set up a Valkyrie, because I'll put myself in Trish range. And so he just OTKs me. And then he goes and loses the next 2 matches afterwards. So I was just like, I have a horrible tiebreaker. After he told me round 5 that he lost 2, I was like, oh great, now I do have to actually win until the last round, and I probably do have to win the last round that I play. So I go into round 4, play at table 35. I got knocked down to 35 from that loss, and I play against the tellarknights. I won the die roll, and as we're shuffling up and he's cutting my deck, he literally just drops half my deck on the table, face up. And I get really upset. I don't yell, I don't scream. I'm like, dude, are you serious? And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do at this point. Because I'm sitting right next to the judge table. I'm like, do I need to, I'm just debating in my head. I'm like, what do I need to do here? And I just ultimately decided to do nothing except, like, and I just chose to go first. Instead of going second, because I knew what he was playing, because he's a local player, and he always plays the tellarknights. So I was 100% positive that he was playing the tellarknights. Fun fact, he was. So I just ended up going first because the surprise factor of what I was playing was gone, so my chances of first turn trishing him were almost 0 unless he just played really poorly into it. So I went first, and I had a really mediocre hand for the entire game, and he ended up knocking me down to 2200, and like my hand is really poor. Like my hand is actually Decisive Armor, Gungnir, Colossalus, and something else that like is irrelevant. Oh, it's I remember exactly now. It's Decisive Armor, Gungnir, Colossalus, a Cycle, and a Kaleidomir are what's in my hand. And so he has a Tsukiyomi, a Deneb in attack mode, an Altair in attack mode, and 5 back row. So, and like I've been making no plays for the entirety of the game. Like he's just been poking me with these. So I draw, and it's Dance Princess. So I activate Kaleidomir, attempting to summon my Decisive Armor, or attempting to send a 10 to do the Gungnir and Colossalus play, because I was positive there was either a Vanity or a Nova back there. I don't know why I didn't summon the Dance Princess first. I think I was just really on tilt for how everything had happened. But he Novas my Kaleidomir. And I'm like, okay. So I summon the Dance Princess, and then I activate Cycle, and I actually discard the Gungnir and the Colossalus out of my hand and summon this Decisive Armor. And then I go and I swing over his Deneb, and he tries to deprison it, and I tell him, you need to read Dance Princess. And so then, main phase 2, I use its effect to start sniping back row, and I pop the other alpha, so it was the correct play to attack over the Deneb. And he can't take control of the game back from that point. And like I stuck that Decisive Armor on the board as I just kept drawing cards for turn. I just kept sniping it back row one at a time until it got down to where he was setting monsters with no other cards in hand and no back row, and I just took the game from there. And then game 2, I just blew him out with Trish and a Djinn. So then I go on to round 5 and play against Masked Heroes, and at this point I start my fight against Darklaw. Every game that I went second against any of these hero variants, I got Darklawed on my first turn playing the game, and I just had to play out of it. So it was a bit of a problem, but I ended up 2-0ing my round 5 opponent playing Masked Heroes at table 10. He was playing some really odd main deck choices too. Like he was maining Magic Cylinder, and like he almost got me 4 game with that card. If I didn't have Trishula in my hand, I would have lost the game. But it ended up just working out for however it did. And then round 6, I go and I play Shaddoll Heroes, and I'm like, I see a Shaddoll card, and I'm like, yes, I'm just gonna win this round out of principle. And then I see a Rhoda for a Shadow Mist, and he summons it, and then he sets cards, and I'm like, I'm about to get Darklawed, and I got Darklawed. He chained Darklaw to my Manju effect, or chained Mass Change to my Manju effect to Darklaw me, and I'm just like, I'm gonna play out of this as best as I can. Which I did. I ended up 2-0ing him as well. And it wasn't very like eventful playing these matches, because like all these Masked Hero matches, when I got Darklawed, I literally just had to get the Darklaw off the board and then win that turn. Like it was really strange. And I didn't see a lot of my outs to Darklaw as well. Like, I didn't see Book of Moon, Dark Hole. I saw Dark Hole, like, 2 of the games out of these 3 matches and 7 games I played. I 2-0'd the Masked Hero that I played round 5, and I 2-0'd the Straw Hero I played round 6. The only game I dropped in a match that I won was round 7 against another Masked Hero player. All the other matches I was either 2-0'ing my opponent or I got 2-0'd. The only game I actually lost in a match that I went to win was against Masked Heroes round 7. So round 7, I go and I sit at table 5, and my opponent, when he shows up and sits across from me, is this 13-year-old kid, and I'm just like, good job. I'm just like really, I'm not even happy that I'm playing a kid. I'm just like, look at you. You're here. Like, you never see kids at top tables late in tournaments like this. And so I just started immediately thinking about what he could be playing, and sure enough, it was Heroes. And I get Darklawed again, because I lose the die roll and he goes first. He opens Darklaw with 3 back row. Luckily, I have the Dark Hole. And I was able to just do my things. Dark Hole is my favorite out of Darklaw, because, like, it's just, you can just preemptively play it. Like, because Book of Eclipse and Book of Moon, you can't preemptively play those. You actually have to commit a search card to bait the mass change before you can then attempt to chain. And even then, if they're playing Masked Heroes and it's the regular mass change, you have to wait for that Dark Ball to hit the board. And then you have to lose a card out of your hand before you can even Eclipse it or Book of Moon it, because the regular mass change, the monster just has to be face up when you activate the card. If you chain Book to it, it doesn't resolve without effect like Mass Change 2nd does, because the monster's face down. It'll still tribute the monster and summon the Dark Law, which is really insane. It's really hard to play out of if you don't have, like, just clean outs like Dark Hole is, or Raigeki. But I ended up winning game 1, playing out of the Dark Law. Game 2, he went first, and he Dark Lawed me again, and I could not play out of it. I made a critical misplay where I used a Brionac to search a Shrit instead of a Unicorn, and then I just couldn't get that Shrit out of my hand for the rest of the game because I didn't have enough combo cards, and the Unicorn would have gotten me Brio back to, search more combo cards to go with what I was drawing in the next turns. I was just too far down in card advantage, and I tried to make a comeback, but it just didn't work. And then game 3, I just went first, and I Dijin locked him with a Brio and a Revolve Chain. I just protected that for the rest of the game, and we ended up going into time, and I won with a Decisive Armor, attacking over Darklaw. Once he got my Brio off the board and established Darklaw, I just played through his back row as best I could, and then summoned Decisive Armor and just swung over the Darklaw, and got the game from there in time. So my dealings with Darklaw have come to an end. Finally, I got Darklawed 7 times. I got Darklawed at least once in all of the games that I played against Masked Heroes or Hero variants. And sometimes it sucked for them because I just already had a good enough out, but they got me that one time, and it made it a really, really awkward to play. Even though I still won those games, it made it very awkward, and it's not something that I would prefer to do. In any thing, like even if its banishing effect weren't like enough, the fact that I don't have a grave, that's a bit of a detriment. But like the fact that it just takes a card out of your hand, like I'm fine if it's on Manju or Senju because that's just a 1-for-1, and I'm probably gonna go into Unicorn and Claydomere. But like, oh my goodness, if that thing hits a Brio search, I'm just taking a -1 for no reason, and that's a problem. But whatever, it's whatever. I played out of it, and it ended up being fine. So round 8, I play against the first Cliff Fort I played all day, sitting at table 4. And I just couldn't draw well enough to play the game 1, Like, I tried to play as best I could. I think I might have made a mistake in wasting an MST on his scout. No, I didn't use the MST on his scout, and he just OTK'd me that turn, so I was saving it for Vanity, because I knew for a fact I could kill him next turn if I didn't get floodgated. So I saved the MST, and then I didn't play it on a scout, and then he just killed me. Just straight away, because he just had I didn't know that he had another 2 monsters in his hand. To pendulum summon and make it literally like 200 over game. And then game 2, my opening hand was 3 hands and like 2 ritual spells. And I'm just like, bruh. So I try to set a hand and it gets carried and I get literally OTK'd on the first turn of the game. So it wasn't beneficial. I really wish I had some form of MST clone or something to get things at least in a slow enough game state where I could try to draw into a Manju or a Brio. But it's really whatever at this point in time. For this to be the first event I played Nekroz at, I'm fine with how I did because I've tested the deck as much as I have. I just wish the Klee matchup was easier game 1. I just wish Floodgates didn't exist. I wish Djinn, Skill Drain, and Vanity's Emptiness were not in the format, so it could just be a pure skill fest. And like I made Maxi for Burning Abyss in the mirror, and only played 2 mirrors, and I didn't play against any Burning Abyss. Which Burning Abyss is already like the easiest matchup anyway, but Maxi is just kind of mediocre in the mirror, but I just wanted to make my mirror match and my BA matchup like a little bit better. I just really wanted to blow BA out of the water. I didn't want to like leave that to chance, but I just didn't know I'm playing any, which is fine. I mean, I played against enough other stuff. Really wish I didn't have to play against that many Dark Laws though. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like I even knew going into the event, I was like, there's probably just a lot of heroes here, but it worked out for the best. But anyway, that's really all that I want to talk about. Without going into too much in depth on like combos and like card choices or anything like that. I mean, it's just you just have to have outs, and you have to play correctly. You have to cycle through your resources in a proper manner to keep your deck in a certain form of equilibrium, to where it's always going to give you the highest chance of getting the best card during your next draw or during your next turn or whatever. Like it's very easy to manipulate those situations with this deck, and that's kind of what I like the most about it, is the fact that since every card is so accessible, it's really what am I looking to say here? Like, it really punishes you if you make the wrong choice, because everything is so accessible, yet your resources are finite. It's not like Dragon Rulers, where like all your resources were resources in the grave, hand, deck, wherever. Like, your resources are still very, very accessible, almost to the point of like Spellbook or Dragon Rulers, but they're much more finite, and like you have to use them correctly. So that's probably what I can say I like the most about this deck. And also, you know, just if you know some cool plays and you're able to blow, like if you're able to play the mirror correctly, then you should be able to win most of your mirror matches, because if you're playing against someone who isn't as experienced in the mirror or doesn't know as much about managing their card resource, then you're just going to win. And I like decks like that. I like decks that reward the better player in the mirror match, or the person who plays the best. Not even the better player, like just the person who plays the best that game, that match. But anyway, I have rambled on for quite some time, a lot longer than I wanted to. This video is like 25 minutes long now. But anyway, as always, guys, comment, rate, subscribe, like this video, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. And yeah, I have a link to my Facebook page, both of my Facebook pages, in the description down below. If you want to contact me, that is going to be the best and easiest way. One is my actual Facebook page, and one is my Facebook fan page, both of which are fine. Like the fan page, add me on my main page, I'm trying to add everyone, but there are some people that I know that I just do not want to add because I've had bad history with them. But as long as you're not one of those, then you should be added as soon as I see it. But anyway, that is all for today, guys. And like I said, I want to try and make some Ritual Beast Ritual Beast videos in general in the near future. But other than that, that is all for today's video. And as always, guys, take care.